This video is about English interface of CN8032L and CT5321. The CT5321 will be the slave mode and communicate with the CPU of Siemens S7-1200. First, let me open TIA portal. The CPU is 1214C ACDC/RLY. And I will enter its web view. In the beginning of using CN8032L, we will provide GSD file for customers. Click Options and install GSD file. Find the folder where the GSD file is located. And find the latest version of GSD file folder, and select the folder. Tick the first box. And here is a status description. It shows the GSD file has already installed. So I clicked Cancel if it is not installed, and just click the Install. Here I click the Cancel. After the installation, in the hardware catalog, below Other Field Devices, we select Profinet I/O. Click I/O ODOT Blade I/O System, C-Series CN8032L. Meanwhile, in its Information interface, we could see GSD file version of 20220913. After found it, and we can drag CN8032L to the devices and networks. Select this Ethernet port and connect it to the CPU 1214C. And we shift to the project tree and click the Online Access. Click the Online Access, and we can find a local network card. Click the Update Accessible Devices, and it could update the bus devices. Now we can see the PLC IP address is 192.168.0.1. The adapter name is CN8032-1. Now we can see this is the ASCII module name read from the field modules. Then we check the module configured name. Select the Ethernet port and we can check its properties. For configuration, we use the default device name of CN8032 address. So this will make the configured device name inconsistent with its scanned name. First, we could change the device name. Tick off the Generate Profinet device name automatically and change all the names into CN8032-1. This will make the configured module name same with the field module name. This is the first method. The second method, it could use the default device name. By click the Assign Device Name online, it could also modify the site module name CN8032-1 into the default name of CN8032 address. Now we double-click CN8032L and enter its device view. In the device view, we could configure CT5321. The CT5321 will be configured as the slave, and select the Modbus interface module. We can view the module parameters here. Then it could select the mode as Modbus slave. As you can see that we have M/S/F marked in the front. The parameters marked with S, which are all valid parameters in the slave mode, like the baud rate, data bits, parity bits, stop bits, the serial mode, character pitch, and timeout. And at last, the key parameter is the station address of CT5321, which set as the slave. Here we could enforce 2 to modify it as the default is 1, and we configure the code. For the code, we can check the submodules in the hardware catalog. And the submodule, it also contains F/M and S. The slave module could select S command for configuration. Now I can select S, read coils, and click here to read 4 bytes coils. And we here select the read holding registers in area 4. Click here so we could read 4 words. Then we could configure a write command. Click here to write holding registers of area 4. After the configuration, for the read command, we can check the start address. For area 0, the default address is 0. For this area 4, the default address of read is 02. So if we configure the address of write, it should be different of the address of read. Then we could fill the address value of 4 here. Please note the direction of write and read. If you configure S and read 4 bytes. So for the Modbus RTU group externally wired with CT-5321, if we configure it, and that is, the Modbus RTU master actively writes the data from area 0. And this command is the Modbus RTU master actively writes the data of area 4 to this address. For this S, write is 8 words, and this command is the Modbus RTU master actively read the 8 words. Now the configuration is done, and let us go back to the project tree. In the project tree, and we choose the PLC, then click the download to device. Click the load. Click the finish. After the download, we can click the Go Online. In the network view, we can see the command communication of CT-5321 is normal. In the network view, we can also check the PN communication of the PLC, and CN8032L is normal. Now we select the watch table of S7-1200. So we can monitor its data of read and write as CN8032L is the slave. For the corresponding CT-5321 itself, now we are using a USB to RS485 converter. You can also use by RS232 or RS422 to test the communication as by hardwiring. Now, I input address of IB2, IB3, IB4, IB5. And here let us input IW68 for 4 addresses. Then we all input QW64 as the rest addresses. Now we click to Online. The external of CT-5321, we use USB to RS485, RS232 or RS422 converter. And we could use the debugging software of Modbus Pol. In this software, the Modbus Pol will replace the Modbus RTU master. Let us configure. And we can view the serial parameters as port 9, 9600-8 and 1. The port 9 is after the USB to 48 converter connecting my PC USB port, and there will generate a COM9 port. The first S, read 0004 bytes of the value in area 0. So the corresponding Modbus Pol master, we write it for data length quantity 4 times 8 is equal to 32. Please note the slave ID, and the slave address we just set is 2. Now click Online and we enter a value. And we can see in IB2 there will be a corresponding value. And the corresponding of alias 8 will be IB3. And the data in area 0 could be written to CT-5321 and PLC correctly. Let us create a new test. If it needs to read the second S, read the value of 4 words in area 4 and set the slave ID of 2. So it needs to write the start address 0 and read data length quantity 4 and write 4. Then I start to write. Now let us change it into hex display. We can see the first is 457. And I write the values. It could be normally writing to my PLC side. The last, S, write 8 words. This one is to write the PLC S7-1200 data to the Modbus RTU master. Now we configure and the slave ID we input to, and from our side, it is read. As an S7-1200, it needs to write 8 words, and from our side it will be read data. The start address is 4 and the data length quantity is 8. Click OK. And we need to write from QW64. Let us write here modify value 1111 and click to download it. Now we can see the R value in Modbus poll as we set the hex display will be 1111. And let us input more modify values. Now we can see the values are written correctly. And the configuration and test of CT-5321 as slave is what we do today. Thank you.